right, good morning, Eli Yoder.
Good morning, Joe.
Hey, last night or yesterday, they kind of threw a wrench into what we had kind of thought happened. Um, your thoughts on you kind of watched what he did. He didn't throw anybody in jail, and it just made everybody get put onto their a lien onto their property is what's gonna eventually happen here. What do you think of that?
Yeah. I immediately, as I was watching the live feed there, I thought, wow, this judge is kind of like a coach, on a football team. If this play didn't work, let's come up with another one that might work.
You know,
And
and
so,
I refer to him as King Solomon because it really it amazed me because I thought everybody was going to jail.
right,
That didn't happen. I mean, I that was good planning of the law. I mean, because the only choice he had was to suspend their driver's license, which they don't have, turn it into the credit bureau, which they don't worry about the credit bureau, or send them to
right,
jail. And they was fully ready to go to jail.
yeah,
So the only option left that would grab their attention would be put a lien on their property for the thing. But go ahead.
yes, yeah, that was definitely something that I didn't expect. I didn't know that Mr. Good would bring that out of his playbook, but you know what? When he did, I was like, wow, that was a pretty good one, and I don't know how effective that'll be, but I do know that's really going to start a conversation when they get together on Sunday for church, and they'll be reaching out to other churches as well that are affiliated with them. And I'm sure that just like my forefathers was always talking about what they went through, they'll be talking about this. 50. They believe 50 to 70, 80 years down the road, their grandchildren are going to be talking about like, hey, that property right there, that used to be ours, but we were so persecuted, and it was an honor to stand up for our faith, and that property now belongs to those worldly English people because they took it from us when we went to court. Because they're still going to view this as just an honor to suffer for their beliefs.
What's kind of when I first came out, there was a couple of young kids. The younger kids, they didn't. I don't believe they really understood what was happening because they come out and another guy after said, "Did you win? Did you lose? Or what happened? Was it a draw?" And he said, "It was a draw." And then the older folks, when they come out, I walked over and talked to them. They were really upset at the judge. They said, this is like, you know, he could have thrown us in jail and it had been solved, but now this is
Right.
going to drag on for years. And they was really upset.
Yeah. They definitely you could tell just by their the way they behaved and the way they acted yesterday. They were totally 100% prepared for jail time. And I thought it was so interesting as I was listening to Mr. Hostetler there. He was, given the option by the judge there, about paying fines versus going to jail, and he immediately, he responded with jail because that would not interfere with their beliefs, but paying the fine, that's kind of changing their belief system. That makes them look like they gave in by paying the fine. So they were 100% prepared to go to jail yesterday.
Oh, absolutely. They really believed they was going to. I mean, they brought all their wives and lined them up in the bench area. I kind of turned it around there. I got a little bit of hate mail on showing the Amish, but I have a standard I just keep for everybody. I mean, if I'm recording something in court, I'm not going to blur out faces and I'm not going to go through all this stuff. This is what actually happened. It's legal. There's nothing illegal about, filming them. So, they'll
Right.
just have to get over that. But, I wanted people to see what was going on, because you got the
Yeah.
ones that no matter what the Amish do, they're above standard. Then you got the
Right.
ones that no matter what they do or have done, they're below standard. And then you got the ones that's in the middle that kind of go either way based on it. But they was blatantly, yeah, we have the ability to be able to pay the fines. No, we're not going to pay it because of religious beliefs.
Right. Yeah. There's been quite a few that reached out to me as well and kind of criticized me for even talking openly about it on my platform, and then also the interview with you on the last one. I got some criticism for that, but here's what I responded back to those people. If you're doing business with them and you're, that's your livelihood, you're paying your bills by doing business with the Amish, maybe you're a taxi driver, what have you, but they're not above the law. And if they have broken that law, not following the law of putting the blinker on their buggy, now they land themselves in court. And the news media, they have the right to take their photos and their pictures because it's not, that's something they put themselves into that position to be in court. And if they just followed the law, they wouldn't have to worry about having their picture or their videos, being taken and put on social media. So I just remind people, hey, just because you might disagree, we still have the right to do this. They actually put themselves in that position. It could have been completely prevented if they would have paid their fines, followed the law, complied, and put a blinker on their buggy. We wouldn't even be on here talking about this right now.
And the thing about it is the younger ones, they didn't have a care about it. They're like, they wasn't really worried about it. But if you stop to think about it, that was, I I even got a little, people got aggravated because I referred to him as King Solomon, because he determined that none of those things was gonna make a difference to him. Those three options was out for the Amish, and it proves why he's the judge. Because I mean, the guy is so knowledgeable. I mean, there's nothing that just, I mean, he knows right where to go, what to say and what to do.
Yeah, he definitely. It surprised me, the things he come up with, and I thought, man, if we in my county, Hardin County, where I'm from, I thought, man, if we had a judge like that, I would stir the pot pretty good, because he's not willing to back down. He's got more, and it makes me wonder what else is he going to have in his playbook, because if they come back to court in 30 days or whatever it is, if this doesn't seem to work and they're not giving in, what else is he going to come up with? Because that was pretty genius of him yesterday, what he came up with, and I really wish more judges would look at this guy and kind of follow his example when it comes to these religious groups like this, because not one, thank God, by the way, for our Constitution, freedom of religion, but I don't care what religion it is, you are not above the law.
And he was very compassionate. Yeah, I mean, he even stated numerous times, "Hey, I don't want, this is not enjoyable or whatever this is, but this is the law," and he sticks
Right.
strictly with the law. He doesn't vary one iota either way, and he knows how to apply the law in a fair and equal kind of manner.
Yes, yeah, and that's what I really respect Mr. Good for, is he's going to hold him accountable. This is the law, and he doesn't seem like he's trying to take a stab at them. Well, just because you're this way or Amish or whatever, I'm going to now do this. He's still in a loving way coming up with other reasons, trying to get them to realize, hey, if you just pay your fines, you're good to go. And if you just follow the law, you're good to go. And I like his demeanor. He just comes across as a very humble, nice guy, and he's not, being lashing out because of who they are or anything like that. Even though some people may view it that way, I just see a guy that is trying to be nice and reason with them, and he's trying to get them to comply by the law. It's plain and simple.
And what's funny is what some of them didn't understand, and they actually argued with me outside. Was that I said, why didn't somebody plead not guilty? Like, because they brought it up. They said he could have changed our plea from no contest to not guilty, and then they could have taken it to higher court. I said, no, you have to plead not guilty. You have to, if you just plead no contest, you're going to be found guilty. That's the same as just all that does is just say, I'm not admitting to my guilt. I'm just pleading no contest, throwing myself into mercy court. Of course, you're going to be found guilty because you pled no contest.
Right.
So, but anyhow, to kind of note on the last interview, I got a lady that sent me a message, said I talked too much in the interview and I didn't give you the opportunity to talk. So I'm giving you all the opportunity in the world today. So make sure you take advantage of that.
Yeah, you know what? It's very interesting to see all this play out. Growing up Amish, I just love to share, how and what I was hearing, from my dad and mom and grandparents. We had a lot of different family sit downs where we're talking about persecution and talking about different things, and there's so many different stories I could tell you, and I want everybody to understand the old order system. I mean, I grew up in it, and I want you to understand that it was a total honor. We looked up to this. I remember as a 5-year-old little boy, I was so I could not, even at night, I'd lay there and think of this when I heard my grandfather talk about how his dad, in one of the wars, they were drafted. They were drafted. They were told they have to go fight or else this, there's consequences. So they went, but when they got on the base, they refused to march with the rest of the American soldiers. And so they were told, hey, we're going to throw you in hot oil. You're going to die instantly. And because there's consequences if you're not going to comply by this. This is the law. You're drafted. You got to fight for this country. And so they still refused, and they stripped him down. And I remember my grandpa always, we would get really into this conversation because it was such an honor to stand up for our beliefs. And I remember how I looked up to that, how they were taken to the oil, hot boiling oil, and they stripped them down naked, and they were getting ready to throw them in, and they would die instantly. And he said they went right to where they stripped them down, ready to throw them in. And one of the leaders there, I don't know if it was one of the army sergeants, and he just looked at him and said, "Wow, you guys really are going to die before you march." And they said, "Yep, we stand up for our faith." And they told them to put their clothes on and get out of here, go home and be Amish. I mean, I share that just to show you, even on to death for the old order Amish. They're all different. There's a lot of different Amish groups that would never do this. I know some new order Amish that actually go and fight for this country. They enlist into the army. They have social security numbers. They're tied to the government. But this particular group where I come from, the old order Amish, they're willing to die. And just this story that I'm sharing with you about the army, I was a 5-year-old little boy, and I remember as I got up 10, 11, 12 years old, I thought, man, I might get a day sometime to suffer like that too and go to jail and even death for our beliefs so that I get extra credits in heaven. You know, we thought God is, we're in God's favor because we are special people. It's kind of, to be honest with you, it's kind of a prideful thing growing up and be taught that way. We thought we were the ones, you know, we were the special people. So it's kind of a prideful thing to even claim that because we put ourselves separate from all the rest of the people, even other Amish. I hope that makes sense.
You know, and another thing I was going to bring up too, I was talking to some Amish that's on the opposite end of town, and they're pretty put out with the Amish on this. They kind of, you know, they wouldn't go on record, but they just flat out said these guys making us look bad. You know, because
Yeah.
they showed up they showed up to court that they're getting ready to go to jail for, still with no lights,
Yeah.
no nothing on their buggies. They're not going to pay the fine. They're not going to comply with anything. You know,
Yeah.
so what do you do? I mean, you know, what is the answer?
Yeah, I got two brothers right now that are in a community that is considered like a newer order because they have windshields in their buggies. They got the bright triangle on the back. They got 4 or 5 batteries underneath the seat, and these lights. Let me tell you, they are beaming like a car headlight. You can see them from 2 miles down the road. And when I talk to him about Ashland County right now, and he goes, "Man, they just make us all look bad." Kind of what the other person's told you, you know. He says, "Man, if they would just give in and follow these simple little laws, it's so simple little blinker made out of plastic, and you're willing to be persecuted and even put into death for it and go to jail, all of those things for a little plastic blinker." And he says, "We have moved on from the blinker. We got literal car headlights on our buggies down here in this Amish community," he said. And he said, if they would just, in Ashland County and other counties that are doing this, he says, if they would just follow the law, put the blinker on, then their freedom of religion that they have would be actual freedom because they would be left alone and the courts wouldn't come after them. If you follow the laws of the land, you're going to be live at peace and be Amish how you want to be Amish. And that's what my brother was trying to tell me. He says, if they would just follow that, they would leave them alone. And if they would realize that they would be left alone, they could live at peace and freedom and be Amish. Nobody bother
And I was told, somebody sent me a message and said in Indiana they have to have license tags for the buggies. You know
them.
anything about that?
Yeah, northern Indiana, the Shipshawana area, LaGrange area. I have some family members up there, and they actually register their buggies just like a car would, and they pay that fee for a tag, and they put their tags right on the buggy, and they have no problem at all doing everything they got to do. They're part of the tax system, even. You know, they got social security numbers up there, unlike the old order Amish. So they actually are just like a car. You know, they got the bright lights, they got the license plate, they pay the tag fees. They do all of that just so that the government would let them have their freedom of religion and be Amish.
Hey, got anything to add this morning? And what do you think? What I wanted to ask you too. Next, here pretty soon. I mean, I think I really believe that they're going to start actually towing their because they're illegal to be on the road. Without that blinking light, they're illegal to be on the road, so they can be towed. I'm wondering when that will start. But do you think that will help persuade them to put the flashing yellow light on?
Well, I don't think they'll give in over that. I really don't think they will. If they're anything like my old order community, they will not give in, even if you take their horses and impound them and take them to a farm that is not Amish, and even take the buggies and put them into a lot and impound them or whatever. They're going to work their way around that. They have other Amish that'll probably come in and help. If that happens, they'll replace buggies, they'll replace horses, they do whatever they got to do. I don't think that. I mean, that's going to be a curveball. Obviously, that's going to make them stumble a little bit, but I don't think that's going to stop them. I think they'll willingly surrender that horse and buggy, and they'll just view that as persecution. But I'm very interested in seeing, though, the next court date and how this goes on and on and on, what their response is going to be, because I just see them standing very firm, like my group does, where I come from.
Well, I'm hoping. What I'd like to see is one of them just to plead not guilty, take it to higher court, and see if it stands. Until somebody challenges, you never know whether it's going to stand or not.
Yeah. If they would just be willing to do that, if you just have one person saying, "Hey, not guilty," just one of them would do that. But you know what? They're not going to. Not one of them will, because they are already told that they cannot do that. If one of them actually disobeyed the bishop and went forth and said not guilty, he would actually get shunned in the church.
Well, kind of several weeks ago, I was told that I didn't make it down to one of the hearings because there wasn't that many down there, and I didn't figure, I don't want to do a story every week on the Amish, but letting people, keep them up to date. But one went in and he pled not guilty. And as he's walking out, the judge kind of made the comment that, hey, you just made yourself famous, because that's going to be the first one. Well, apparently he went out and talked to his bishop, and they came back with a completely different thing and changed his plea, and so yeah, as soon as they talked to the bishop, and that brings me to my very last question I have for you. There's a lot of people sending messages and talking about this and commenting. They want the bishop charged, because if you notice in the video in the courts, if they mess up or stop, they look at the bishop that always sits back here in the corner, and then he speaks something in German. I don't know what he says, but then they all stick to the same script. And if they get off that script, the bishop, clears his throat or makes some kind of sign, and they get right back on script.
Yes. Yeah, that is all signs of fearing their leader. That is why I know a lot of people disagree, but that is why the old order group where I come from, I sometimes use the word cult, because you have the highest authority, the bishop, and in court you can see that behavior where they fear that man. There's consequences if they speak how they feel in their own heart, and they say something the bishop does not agree with. That next Sunday, let me tell you, they're going to be in hot water. And they do not want to be shunned. They don't want the church discipline. So when you see they're clearing their throats, or whatever they're doing, the bishop is sending that signal to them. Hey, you better cut it off right there. Don't you say what you're about to say. You got to stick with what the plan is, what we talked about last Sunday in church when we had our meeting, and you're not allowed to go past that. So now, a lot of these young ones that I've been communicating with from many different Amish communities, what they always talk about is, hey, the younger generation is not on board with some of the elders. But if you try to challenge them, they come up against you. And all at once you find yourself in the band where they shun you for something you disagreed with. So you can't disagree with them. If the elders, the bishop, the highest authority, you come up against them, you're going to have some consequences. So it's very much fear. Because of the consequences. So they have to say what they were told they have to say when they take the stand up there at the podium. And if they change from that, there's some consequences.
And I have one other question. I had a lady challenge me on what we had talked about last time. She said that it's the whole church votes on it. It's not the bishop that controls everything. It's the whole church that votes on it. My understanding, and you kind of clear this up, is yeah, they have a church and they vote on stuff like that, but the bishop is what they call the man. He's the one that they, if he says no, we're going to do it this way, it's going to be done that way.
Well, I can tell you that they actually do vote. Every one of the church elders that have, the men that were baptized in my old order church, that they had to vote yes on certain. Now, sometimes they were no, and it would get pushed back week after week after week. It was usually two-week segments, because every other week's when they actually go to church, because the in-between week is when you can go to the other district. So anyway, every 2 weeks when they have that meeting, if it's still a no that comes up, they come after that person. It's really sad, to be honest with you, in the old order groups, how they operate, because if you or two of your buddies say, no, I don't agree with that, they're going to come after you. Like you're almost like, made fun of. There's gossip in the community about you. They put the pressure on you until you agree, and then they get your yes finally that they're going to stick with this plan. even though you didn't originally agree to that. But you want to be, you're part of the church. You don't want a family division. You don't want church division. You don't want backlash. You don't want to be slandered and gossiped about. And so therefore, a lot of them just surrender. They give in because they pressure you. So yeah, the old order system, yes, they do ask every baptized man that is in the church and good standing with the church to vote on these issues. And their vote has to be yes. But I just want you to understand, the ones that disagree and may vote no, they come down hard on them. They pressure them all week long. And it's sad that it has to be that way because they want their way. They know it has to be yes, and they will continue to push. Even if it takes 6 months to a year to get the vote passes yes, they will do so. But they always, and that's why, by the way, you see splits. My old order community split in 2012, and about 15 to 20 families moved out and went to other Amish communities.
Oh,
Well,
really?
that's because they didn't agree. They were trying to say no. We are going to vote no on this issue, and they pressured them until they finally they left. That's why you have church splits, because if you don't agree, you're either going to leave or you stay there and you agree.
Wow. So there's no giving in at all.
No, oh no, they get their way with whatever they want. They're going to get it.
And that kind of brings me to one thing like that. There, some of the people, not all, but some are saying that they're getting the distinct impression that they just feel that they're above the law on everything with this constant thing. Do you
Right.
think that that's the case? Do they feel that English law just simply doesn't apply to them, or you know, uh, just this particular law?
Yeah, I know that our mindset in our community, old order, we were very much feeling like we were above the law. We did not feel like we, because God's church, when if you put yourself in the mindset of them, you'll understand that in their mind they believe they are God's church, and you must do everything you can to protect that church. It doesn't matter what the laws are. The laws come second. The Amish church, the old order, the way they think, that comes first. That's why my sister and her new husband, when they got married, were told they must go to jail rather than put a septic system. And the way the law stated that under this new law, you had to put a septic system in, and the church said no. We have outhouses. We don't put septic systems. So therefore, they told them they must go to jail because, again, their religion is above the law. They believe that's how we thought in our church. Rather than giving in and following the law, no, you got to go to jail and be persecuted for that. So yeah, with your question, do they believe they're above the law? Absolutely. The old order system where I come from, we believed we were above the law.
Well, it's going to be interesting. These next 30 days are going to really tell the tale, because I think there's, I think that, both were so dead set. Somebody had to blink. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that this next 30 days, somebody's going to blank. And now, I'm this the what happened in court yesterday. Some people they sent me a message and they said, "Man, that was anticlimactic. I thought everybody was going to jail." And most people were like, "That's a good idea the judge did." He definitely he is not on their Christmas card list, put it that way.
Yeah. I applaud Judge Good. I mean, that was an amazing plan that he come up with there to talk about their real estate, their possessions, their land, because that hits them right where it hurts because they,
Oh, he
that
got their attention.
yeah, yeah, that hits them right where it hurts because they buy this land and they put their families on there, and when their kids get married, they sometimes make about 10 to 12 acres, to put their younger siblings that are getting married on there. So when you come after their land, you're affecting every one of them.
Oh yeah, and for $150, you think that I wouldn't want a lien put on my property for $150, you
Right.
know, because that's just not worth it. So I
Yeah.
think we're gonna hopefully this is the beginning of the end, and it'll be over with. We'll have the flashing yellow lights, and and we can move on.
Yeah. It'd be nice to see that where if they would just, it takes a few minutes just to take that blinker, screw it on the back of the buggy. Now you're following the law, and you'll never have to worry about that police car coming up behind you and pulling you over. You're going to be left alone, and it's so much freedom in that. And I don't know why it's just. Can't you just get that in your brain, and just they'd be so simple and so easy to fix this whole thing.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you was busy yesterday, but I appreciate you getting back with me today and doing a quick video. And I look forward to if anything changes, I'll let you know because we'll have to
Okay.
do another video. But I think the next 30 days are really going to tell.
Yes, absolutely. Well, hey, I appreciate you talking about this. I know a lot of people were asking me in my messenger app, hey, will you hop on again and I'll talk about this? So I appreciate you having me on and just talk about these issues.
Hey, real quick, tell them how to get on and watch your podcast or your what was the Yoder Toter thing there that we was talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah. On TikTok, it's the Yoder Toter 40. I talk about all kinds of my upbringing in the Amish. I even share scripture on there, Bible teachings, my Amish upbringing, the rules, stuff like we're talking about now. I talk about all of it on there. Yoder Toter 40. Also on YouTube, it's just under my name, Eli Yoder, and also Facebook under Eli Yoder.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a great
Yep.
day,
Thank you, Joe.
and we'll see you over the next coming weeks here.
All right. Yep. God bless.
All right. Thanks.